Here we are in Lewis Tompkin Host Company, here with two distinguished brothers, Dennis Leahey and Steve Vanburen. Dennis, when did you join the fire department?
May 1960.
Steve, when did you join?
I joined Slater Chemical in Glenham in January of 1970.
Okay. Dennis, why did you join?
Well, I've always been interested in Wappingers Falls, but I lived just a block away from Johnson Engine when I was young, and I used to go to their fires whenever they had one. And then when I come home from the service, I met my wife in '55, got married in '56, and I moved to Beacon. And one of my good buddies, I used to take him to work all the time for over a year or so. He tried to get me to join Tompkins Hose, because he used to see me at fires and that there. So finally, Lenny Pederosi got me an application, and I joined in May of 1960.
Isn't that who the room downstairs is named after?
Yes.
Wow. How about you, Steve? Why did you join?
My father, Paul Vanburen, everybody knows him as Rip in the fire service, was the chief in Glenham. I grew up in Glenham, and back then in the 60s, going into the 70s, everybody joined the fire service, and I just wanted to follow in my father's footsteps.
It's not like that today, right?
It's a shame it's not like that today. The kids today are totally different than when I was growing up and when Denny was growing up. People wanted to serve their community. People now want to take from their community rather than give. That's why we have all the problems we have.
Mm-hmm. Dennis, what was your most unique experience as a member of the fire department?
Most unique experience. That's hard to say because there's been so many.
I bet.
One of the ones, we had a fire in the corner of Ferry and Beekman Street. Okay, we lost 2 children in that fire. Myself and Phil Dynan and my son, they had a big fire in Poughkeepsie on Main Street. So we went up there and watched that for about 3/4 of an hour or so. Got cold. We came home. As we're coming home, see a blue light come out of Conway Place, which is just down the street here. And as we got up to the Pernod's gas station, it was on the corner of Main and North Avenue, we pulled in there, and everything was all smoke. You couldn't see anything. So there was a hydrant on the corner by the old bank there at Bank Square, and a hose was laid. So we followed the hose to the engine. That's the only way you could find it. And like I say, it was a bad fire. I put my son in the cab of the truck, and we stayed there until fire. And we lost 2 children in that fire. So that was a bad experience there.
So the smoke was so thick in the street?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's the first time
I
I've
have a
heard.
picture of the
That's
thing,
amazing.
too.
How about you, Rip? What was your most unique experience as a member?
I don't know if I've had a unique experience. I've had so many different experiences. When I was with Glenham back in the early 70s, I remember coming down to Beacon. I was actually driving Glenham's engine for the River Street fire.
Oh, that one
Huge fire.
I got
huge
a picture.
fire.
I got something on that too in there.
Must have been a 6-story building. Was used during World War II to make materials to supply the war effort. And it was a Sunday afternoon, and that fire that building was on fire from the 1st to the 6th floor. Huge amount of fire. Besides being a volunteer in Beacon, I was paid in Poughkeepsie. My 3rd day on the job in the city of Poughkeepsie, I fought the railroad bridge fire. And since I had been a pump operator in Glenham, the training officer says, "You know how to run a pump?" I said, "I sure do." He left me with engine 5, and I pumped the ladder 2 down at the Central Hudson Gas Works to hit the underside of the fire. Poughkeepsie ladder 2 was true vertical, 100 feet in the air, and I was pumping to that to hit the underside of the railroad bridge. And then we had multiple lumberyard fires here in Beacon, Beacon Lumber, Lloyd Lumber right up the street, whole city block burned. So there's been a lot of things in my career, my 50 years. As a deputy fire coordinator, I remember going to the fire in Rombout where 5 people were killed, shot, 3 of them children. We didn't know it at the time. The building was on fire. I remember the Rombout guys bringing the kids out and just laying them in a row on the ground. Later turned out that it was over a drug deal, and they had set the fire to cover the crime. Those people were convicted. They're in prison now. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Dennis, what was the biggest fire you ever fought?
Well, like the Rip says, One River Street was one of them. Okay, I was second assistant chief for that one, and one of our members, the electric line come down that wrapped around him. Okay, so I grabbed the pike pole. He only burnt this thing here, and I got him out of there. But a pike pole got the line off him. The other one would be, like Rip says, Lloyd Lumber. That was a huge fire right in the middle of town. I left IBM to come home to that, and I could see the smoke all the way from IBM. And another incident was the railroad station. Okay, we had a fire and it was closed down. They used it for storage. And we went down there. We had a good fire going in, and there's sailing in that there. And our guys was in there working, and the sailing collapsed on them. And we had to pull them out. The two had to go to the hospital. One of the same guys that got burned, he was one of the ones that was buried in the thing. My son was buried, and a couple other guys. We dug them out and got them out of there. And it wasn't a bad fire, but it was a crisis fire. We thought come close to losing people. And other than other big fires, I mean, we've had a lot along Main Street. We had up the Groveville Mills. I mean, we used to go up there on a daily basis with the roof on fire at Groveville Mills, and that was all the time. And
Amazing. How about you, Rip? What was the biggest fire you fought?
Well, I'm going to echo Denny with Lloyd Lumber.
Mm-hmm.
It's right in the center of Beacon. It was a U-shaped building. I was between jobs. I was between working for City of Poughkeepsie Fire and going to the Indian Point Nuclear Plant as their fire protection supervisor. I was on engine 2 when we pulled up. I was captain at the time. And we pulled up. It wasn't a big fire. And I thought, we'll get this fire out with one line in no time. And they had set the building to burn. It was a big U-shaped building that ran west, then south, then came back east. And the center was where you would pull in for big lumber, and then all the fine lumber would be under the roof. It was like, I would call it 3 connected huge barns. And they set it up so that once that fire got going, it got to the accelerant. I'd never seen a fire go that fast. It basically went west, south, and came back east. Our 1980 American LaFrance was brand new at the time. It was right in front of the fire building. We actually had to take axes and chop the 3-inch lines from the hydrant on Main Street to get the engine out so we wouldn't burn the engine up. So that was tremendous in terms of rapid fire spread and development. And when I was working in the City of Poughkeepsie, we had a similar situation at City Chrysler on Main Street. And I went in with a 2.5-inch line, and the fire was in the rear of the building. And they had a good working fire in the rear, which was the auto body part of the fire. And we dragged it in. There was a big overhead garage door where they pulled the cars into the garage. And fire hit the electrical. The electrical caused the garage door circuit to go closed. So this big heavy door comes down on my 2.5-inch line, basically pinches off the water. I have no water. It's myself and one other guy. We had to scramble to get out the front. I got out the front. I yelled to George Finn, who was running engine 1, my partner at the time, shut the line down. I broke the line. I had taken the nozzle with me when I left inside the building. I immediately went to the first coupling outside in the street, broke the line, put the nozzle back on it, and then I had all I could do to push the fire back so that the guys who were up on the roof to vent could get back to the aerial ladder to get safely to the ground. That fire went so fast.
Wow, wow. That's an incredible story. How about you, Dennis? What was the most serious incident you ever participated in?
well, I'm going to go back to River Street again, because what happened was, like Rip said, we pulled up in front of the building to the engine. okay? And all of a sudden, everything started lighting up. So I had the driver, Johnny Crocco, I said, pull it down to the next hydrant, Johnny. I said, well, Jen, leave that hydrant go, we'll pull it down to the next hydrant. It was just past the building, and that's when the electric lines come down. But when that fire blew, it blew across the street. There was 2 houses across the street. Set them on fire, plus there was a dog in the yard. We couldn't get to the dog in time, and it killed him. So that
Wow.
was, that's something that just happened, bang, just like that. And
What do you think it made it bang?
Oh yes, you just let go. And,
This was the 70s then. Back then in Beacon,
everything was burning.
it was cost effective to buy an old building, insure it, and then burn it down. Fire investigation isn't what it is now. Insurance companies didn't care. You could make a lot of money by buying properties, never intending to fix them up, insure them, and then burn them down. These fires were lit. These were definitely lit fires.
This is the urban renewals. That's what
Oh
it is.
yeah, same thing happened in New York City.
Yeah. Yep.
And people would get money to move again, you know?
Yep. You got to remember, this was the 70s when Dennis Smith, wrote Report from Engine Company 82.
Okay.
How busy the FDNY was. It wasn't the FDNY. Everybody was busy. City of Newburgh, City of Beacon, City of Poughkeepsie. If you were a city anywhere in New York, you had a rash of fires. When I was chief in the 80s into the 90s, the City of Beacon used to average 28 working structure fires a year. In 2011, I came back as 1 year as chief, did a whole year as chief without one working fire. Because now it's more valuable in Beacon to own a property and fix it up than it is to buy a property and burn it down.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to, like you say, the most experience, there's been a lot of death fires that we've had. We lost children on Cliff Street a couple other times, and that's the one that really gets to you. As you
Union
lose.
Street, the Pacone family, Union Street.
Union Street, yeah.
Pacone family, 5 people. Cliff Street, I think was...
Pacone?
3
Yeah.
kids there, I think it was.
Yeah.
3 and
Related to Tony?
Three girls and their mom. The father and the son got out.
I mean, there's
That was in the middle of a blizzard.
That's the experience that really sticks with you, like when you lose somebody.
Mm-hmm, no doubt. How about you, Rip? What was your most serious incident you participated in?
I don't know. I think in terms of seriousness, everybody talks about Poughkeepsie Railroad Bridge only because it was a spectacular fire up over top of the Hudson River where it could be seen for miles. In reality, it was burning over the Hudson River.
Mm-hmm.
So, but people still talk about it. On the anniversary, every year on the anniversary of that fire, it's in the news, You can't measure a fire by how it looks or anything like that. Like Denny said, we had a couple single-family homes with large loss of life.
Mm-hmm.
How
How about MVAs? Any terrible motor vehicle accidents you guys went through?
Well, we had a motor vehicle accident at the Newburgh Beacon Bridge back, I'm going to say it was in the late 80s, where there was a car with 8 kids in coming home from a Huey Lewis and the News concert at the Middletown Raceway Fairgrounds. And as they got to the toll booths, they tried to cut in front of a tractor trailer to beat the tractor trailer into the toll booth. The tractor trailer went up over top of the car, and the stanchions, the concrete stanchions that are in front of the toll booths to protect the toll keepers, toll takers, folded that car up like a U. And that car was crushed from the front to the back with the tractor trailer over top of it. We had to use beacons and Chelsea's set of jaws and Rombaut's airbags to do the extrication, because every time we'd move the car from one end, the people in the other end would be getting crushed. So it was a very delicate operation, but we got all the kids out and nobody died, and that was a great thing.
Oh my
If you
God.
ever saw the pictures of the car, go to Billy Johnson's website, back in his archives,
Oh, wow.
and look at that accident at Newburgh Beacon Bridge. You will not believe that people could have survived being in that car. Because when I first got there, one of the EMTs from BVAC was there, and he was talking to the car, and I said, "Who are you talking to?" He says, "They're alive in there." I said, "How many do we have?" He says, "We have 7." I couldn't believe it.
Only by
Now going back to Rip's incident, okay? That's how we originated our rescue car, our first rescue vehicle. George Farmer, I think you were first assistant, George was chief,
Yeah.
right? I went to George and I said, George, I'd like to start a committee. He said, what's on? And I said, I'd like to see if we can't get a rescue vehicle. I said, because we had our ladder, we had our engine, and we had three in the jaws. So we had bags were on our reserve engine.
We didn't have bags. We had to get the bags from Rombout.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
We had the ladder there for lighting, because
And
the
Beacon
engines
engine
of the
was there
truck.
with the jaws.
Beacon engine was there with the jaws, and Tompkins Hose Station 2 was there because it's their response area as a car accident.
Anyway, all our equipment was down.
Tied up for one incident, we had no fire protection
So I
left in the
went
city.
to George Farmer and he says, okay, go ahead and start. I said, okay. I said, I'm gonna pick certain guys, I'm gonna pick career guys, and I'm gonna pick volunteers. I said, Rip was on the committee when I picked it, okay? So we started out like Roundabout. They had just had like a bread truck for their rescue, okay, at that time. And we said, well, we'll start like that. So I think Rip and Patty Kelleher said,
We
"Geez."
wrote the grant.
Yeah.
We
He
wrote
said,
the
we might be able
grant.
to get this money to get it. So that's how we ended up getting our first rescue vehicle.
Larry Bennett was our state assemblyman, and Steve Salan was our senator. We wrote the grant. We got member funding items from both the state senate and the state assembly. And we went out, we purchased an international top kick walk-in rescue similar to what the FDNY was running at the time. And we did it all at no cost to the citizens of Beacon.
That was fantastic. Now, what roads do you protect here in?
Well,
Dutchess
I
County.
want to go back to an incident you were talking about, an MVA. I have a personal experience in an MVA. Back in 1970, I don't know what it was, just what the date was, it's 1970 something it was. My sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, and my nephew were killed in a motorboat accident on just going outside of the city, going south, going north, yeah, south. And that one child survived. So I had a personal experience there with an automobile accident. Person came across the road, hit him, pushed him up on the sidewalk. And like I say, all three were killed instantly, and one's nephew survived. So
Wow, that's amazing. So is 84 part of your district?
84, the toll booth is part of the city of Beacon, that's correct. And then we run, what we did was when they built the second bridge, we basically worked it out with the Middle Hope Fire District that we would cover the North Bridge, which is the westbound bridge, from the Dutchess County side to the Orange County side, because we had access to the ramps to get on the bridge. And Middle Hope then took the eastbound bridge, the southernmost bridge, and they work it from Orange County to Dutchess. Once it's on the land, the approaches to the bridge, either side, Middle Hope handles their side in Orange County, and we handle the entire bridge plaza, all the toll booths in Dutchess County.
So a lot of times it could be possibly be a joint effort.
Without a doubt, that happens all the time because half the people traveling don't know if they're going east or west.
well, right now, in the Glenham district, we respond with them automatically going eastbound up until their district stops, okay? And I think Roundabout has with Chelsea coming the other way, right?
Right, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Incredible. Okay.